Here we are again. I think it's probably good afternoon, world. A little tardy, a little slower today on the start, but nevertheless, we're here. Where to start? What's going on? Boy, halfway through the day today, I wonder what is the majority of you focused on today? Something happy or something not so happy? I hope you picked the happy. I'll give you some happy. I'll give you some happy. I think all together, we all fed together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We got 12 tummies completely full until I think their tummies will be absolutely full with absolutely great healthy food. Where are we now? December what? December 11th. So I'm guessing this should get them into mid-January. Each. All because of you. Way to go. You imagine how there's definitely a lot of tears. I did all that. I helped with the deliveries this time. Sarah normally does this on her own. Well, just the delivery part, but anyway, definitely a few tears. And we'll keep this ball rolling. I haven't hit my mark. I've got a goal I'm going to try to hit for this Christmas season. So, way to go. Way to go. I don't know what other people with popular channels do. Do other popular channels, do they help anybody, do you know? You should, if you're a dedicated watcher of other popular channels, let me lean on them a little bit. Give them a little encouragement to do some good out there in their community. You know what I mean? I'm telling you what, I'm not sure if there's anything much better than seeing a hungry child smile for food. I don't know. I don't know how you could top that one for good juju. You know what I mean? It's a pretty cool thing to see. And it's on the same card. It's not so cool to see hungry children. But it's really, really cool to see them with a smile so big it's ridiculous. So there you go. There's something good to start the day off with. What else? Fresh out of the pan. So I don't know about you guys, but we have a little comedian in the family. Little shit. Comedian in the family. I got to share this one with you. I guess this is starting to become popular. Where is it? Our little shit is doing very well. She is putting herself through school in the big city of Vancouver, staying at her grandmother's condo right downtown, okay? So when you are concerned about someone's safety, when you know what goes on in big cities, especially Vancouver. So we're sitting there the other night. Hold on a minute. Let me get this lined up here. We're sitting there the other night, and she phones Sarah. Sarah's on the phone with her, and then she puts her on speaker. You can hear whispering. She goes, all of a sudden it's a very secure building. You can't get in the building. And she goes, there's a man just showed up at the door. A man just showed up at the door. Sarah's like, what? Close the door. It's too late. He's in the house. She's like, what? And I'm like, me, what? He wanted some food. He wanted some food. She's whispering like she's trying to, so somebody right there couldn't hear her talking. And I'm thinking, what the F? And then she sends pictures. Sends pictures of this guy in the doorway. Some homeless guy in the doorway sends pictures. Now I'm like beside myself, obviously, natural protector. Sarah's the mama bear. And now I'm like, the cops are coming. The cops are coming. And then she goes and then she starts laughing at her. No, don't call the cops. It's AI. Little shit. And she even took it so far to say he was in the house having an apple. So, parents, beware. And then apparently her boss, where she has a job now too, a woman working downtown, sent her husband the same prank and said the guy's in the shop and she can't get him out. And he's freaking out in traffic, saying, I'm going to be there as fast as I can. The little shit makes me laugh. She's a comedian, but that was a little much. That one's a little much, right? That's a little much. Dirty pool. I'll get her back. I'll get her back. Now, what do we got going on? Don't know. Let's find out. We have some emails to all of you through me. This is titled, My Bigfoot Encounter. This is fresh out of the pan, meaning a new one. Hello, Stephen. Thanks for your channel and the opportunity to relay some occurrences that few would understand. This is mine, and I prefer to stay anonymous to protect the location. I gotcha. It was fall of 2022 in Alaska, and I was on a self-guided hunt on some land owned by a friend near... Okay, wait a minute. You said you're going to share the location, and you're giving me the location. Should I be reading this? All right, I'm going to pass up. You just gave me enough location that I could find it, I believe. So I'll try to skip over some and still make sense of it. Just to help you out, all right? With your request to remain anonymous to protect the location. It was fall 2022 in Alaska. I was on a self-guided hunt on some land owned by a friend near blank, Alaska, where he had a nice cabin on X amount of acres next to a medium-sized lake. I've been hunting for a moose for 2 days with no luck. I decided to move a bit higher to a smaller lake, but with much more moose weed to try my luck. But a couple typos, no big deal. I've been hunting for a while, just sitting on a comfortable log, calling every once in a while, when I hear something akin to a gallop and a huff coming my direction. So, looked up a slight hill, and much to my surprise, there was a sow grizzly, ears laid back, running as fast as she could, and she was motoring downhill. After watching her for a minute or so, I realized she was going to come pretty close to me. So I got the 300 Win Mag to ready and was prepared in case I had to take drastic action. The grizzly sow ran past me like I wasn't there or she didn't care. About that time, a rock, just smaller than a basketball, came flying high above me and landed just a few feet behind the galloping sow grizzly. Holy shit. Just then I heard a blood-curdling scream/yell, and I looked to where the yell came, only to see a huge beast waving what looked like one hind leg of a deer or caribou above its head. I couldn't quite really make sense of what I was seeing until I carefully got the Swarovskis on it. This thing was clearly what I had always been told by an experiencer friend what a Bigfoot looked like. It was every bit of 12 feet tall and 4 feet across. No visible neck, with a sloping forehead that had little to no hair. Heavy eye bridge, and the word muscular does not give them justice. He had bowling balls for traps. Looked like cross-chest pectorals, and I could see some skin behind the long black and red long hair. Massive long arms and strong legs. He was obviously super pissed as he's kept yelling and huffing. I thought to myself, holy shit, if that thing comes this way, I'm not sure I'll have enough gun to stop it. Besides the rifle, I had a Glock number 20 with 3 full mags, and I was hoping like hell I didn't have to resort to that. After the grizzly went over the nearest hill, the Bigfoot, which was about 150 yards away, turned around and went back into the tree line, and I lost him instantly. Needless to say, that was the end of that hunt, as I carefully made my way back to my wheeler. No matter what anyone tells you, once you've seen one, while hunting, I think he meant, once you've seen one, then hunting will never be the same for you again. Absolutely agree with that statement. There's no comfort in them northern woods knowing that Sasquatch roam them at will. It's hard to enjoy the woods like you did before you really knew these things existed. And they are massive and potentially very dangerous. I was very lucky, but I certainly hope I don't ever come across one of these things when they would appear to be that pissed at me. I could actually feel its yell and scream permeate my chest. That was my last day hunting for moose that September, and I haven't been back. I can go to other places to bag a moose. Wow. LDV. That is one hell of an introduction to the reality of what's going on out there. So what do you think happened there? If I had to guess, either this being had something of its own dead, or it stole it from the bear. I guess that bear ran, huh? I've had grizzlies come running at me. I got another story I won't even interrupt. Sorry. What an incredible, incredible experience. And yeah, it does change things, doesn't it? It changes everything up. Every single thing it changes. And there's nothing you can do about it. And the topic of Bigfoot Sasquatch is instantly not even remotely funny in any way. Isn't that incredible? It's not incredible? Appreciate you, man. Keep us updated. Hate to say it, but make sure you let yourself know every once in a while that the chances of you having another experience are probably way, way up there now. Sadly, sorry, it's true. But just be prepared, all right? Just keep it in your, I guess you, I'm preaching to the choir, right? Next one, fresh out of the oven. That wasn't a black bear, is the title of this email. Hello, Mr. Steve. I'm not sure if I shared this particular short story. Have heard mention on the channel about Sardis Lake. Sardis Lake, S-A-R-D-I-S Lake in southeast Oklahoma. Not long ago, I learned that distant relatives in the state had experienced a variety of peculiar things out on the ranches and in the same general area. I wish I had known about all this sooner, as it would have made connecting the dots easier. So, I will refer to the main relative as Grandpa. He was driving alone one night, either close to or on the main ranch. There's a mixture of pastures, creeks, ponds, hills, valleys, and thick timber. It's not open land where you can see far across the ranches. It's not open land where you can see far across the ranches. And as I was saying, Grandpa was driving one night when he sees a deer run right in front of the pickup. The pickup headlights illuminated it perfectly. The deer leapt over the barbed wire fence to the left of the road. It quickly got out of sight as it ran across the adjacent ranch pasture. Next thing he sees is what at first he thought was the biggest black bear his eyes had ever beheld. It appeared and disappeared over the same barbed wire fence just as fast as the deer seen before it had. But then Grandpa's brain realized that no black bear is that enormous or has legs that long and thick. And also, bears do not leap high over fences with ease like deer can. It occurred to Grandpa that what he at first thought was a huge black bear was no bear at all. It was a black Sasquatch running on all fours. I wish he was still alive to share other experiences, but the granddaughter has her own interesting stories to tell. She lives out there now and has seen and heard some strange things too. Have a nice day, all. All right, appreciate that. There you go, Oklahoma. Southeast Oklahoma. Was I there? Where was I? So I was at, what's that? Okay, so I was in Texas at the stockyards with a buddy, and then we jumped in his rig and hauled the horses north or west? North. And we ended up in Oklahoma, another team roper's place to ride. I'm not familiar with the Oklahoma-Texas map in my brain right now. I guess I could probably look it up, couldn't I? I wonder if I was near there. It's pretty flat and brushy and open where we were. Interesting. Be interesting to hear what the granddaughter had to share. Appreciate that, man. What do we got here? Pennsylvania 2025 deer season. Steve, thank you for all you do for the community of believers. There actually is probably knowers. If they are anything like me or other than if they are anything like me other than praying first thing in the morning, I always look to see what new videos you have put out for us to listen to. I listen daily as I commute the 15-20 minute drive to work. I have a hunting partner, and at the time of his sighting, he was also a coworker. Him and I have shared the woods with each other and had successful whitetail archery hunts over the years. He is someone that doesn't embellish the hunting stories and is an honest, good man. I live in Sagertown, PA, which is in the northwest corner of the state. There's a state game lands very close to home that surrounds Woodcock Lake, built by the Army Corps of Engineers. My friend was hunting the game lands in rifle season several years back. There was snow on the ground, and he said that about 100 yards in front of him, a very large, dark, hairy figure that had long arms and was very stealthy quietly worked from his left to his right and never made a sound. He said that the woods was very quiet that day and nothing was moving in the woods. No sounds, birds, etc. He said that he waited a few minutes after losing sight of it and backed out to his vehicle and left. No doubt. The interesting part is that I was listening to you read emails at work, and him and I were talking, and he got real quiet and asked me if I believed in Bigfoot. I said, yes, I do. He then asked me if I'd ever had any sightings or encounters, and I said no. But after listening to all the experiences shared from across the world, with the many patterns, that I would be a fool to not believe. And it was then that he told me what he had saw. Typical. That's happened to me so many times. People won't crack until you convince them you're sincere and you know it's factual. Then they spill. Everybody's guarded. The majority of people are very guarded, unfortunately. There are many recorded sightings in our area. Some made the news, lol. Well, I'm truly grateful for your time, Steve. You're a good man and a person. Hope Adventure Dog is doing well. Also, Sarah, I'm sorry to hear about her loss recently. I have 3 English bulldogs, and they mean the world to me. Keep doing what you're doing. I'd love to meet you someday. I have a hunting camp in/near the Allegheny National Forest. It's been around since 1957. Wow, there's some big deer there too, isn't there? If you walk out the door and turn to the right, you can hunt/hike for miles. I harvested a nice whitetail buck this year up there. You're welcome to come and hunt anytime you want, if you'd ever be interested. I attached a photo of the buck I got this year and one of my hounds, lol. God bless you and keep on sharing the truth, Jamie. God bless you too, Jamie. Appreciate your time, man, and congratulations on the buck. Good chunk of meat there. Right on. Snow too. Gotta love hunting in the snow. What else? Got to cut some other pictures here. Oh, there's one of the bulldogs. They're goofy things, aren't they? And one in the water. Can those things swim? I know the Frenchie couldn't swim. Oh, there's another one. Goofy things. Right on, man. Merry Christmas to you. And there you go. I wonder if your friends listening to the channel now, gaining knowledge. I hope so. All right, where am I going? Hold on a minute. All right, remember a couple days ago, I came across a few in the vault, and they were long, and it was too late in the day to start. Well, I'm starting one now. And a quick thought before I forget. I always forget. If you want to throw down $3 this month to feed these little gremlins, I don't think you can subscribe to the channel with your phone. I think you have to do it on the laptop. That's all I know. There's your heads up that I keep forgetting to mention. If you're into it or not, you have to use your laptop. I don't know why. Okay, here we go. Out of the vault. Not marked as red, but it is now. Mount Baker encounter. Steve, here's my story from a 2002 encounter on Washington's Mount Baker. Steve, for this encounter, I'll use the name Tom. Okay, man. I'm a retired U.S. Air Force and still work government programs. I'd rather not use my real name, not knowing how this might impact my position and career. Some of the people I work with would think I'm crazy. Back in '02, when I was stationed in the Seattle, Washington area, my family and I decided to make one last RV trip before winter set in. I was looking for a remote location with very few amenities so I could legitimately test the capabilities of my new RV with larger storage tanks and a winter package. It had snowed recently at the site we chose, and the overnight lows were to be in the teens, so I thought it would be a perfect test. My son, who was 13 at the time, asked to bring some friends along since the new RV was a bunkhouse style with 3 stacked bunks at the rear of the RV next to the bathroom. I always enjoyed taking my son's young friends since most of them rarely left the city, or even put down the game controller to even eat their dinner. Yeah, I'd be on top of that pretty quick. I had a rule that when we were RVing, there are no game consoles allowed, cards or board games only. Most of the visiting kids moaned and complained at the thought, but once we got to the site, all that faded away as they went exploring for firewood or to find a walking staff, which was our tradition. Good for you, man. They had to carve the staff themselves with their name. And on the final night of camp, they could ceremoniously burn it in the fire. It's amazing how quickly kids will forget the Xbox when they're out in nature exploring. Hear, hear, man, the real world. Good medicine. During my search, I was able to find a U.S. Forestry primitive site that had a good single half-mile loop of a logging road with 5 gravel sites. I had no idea these sites even existed until a friend told me about them. This place was first come, first serve, and the only creature comfort was a fancy 2-hole head. That's a bathroom. And some large seating areas with 3-foot circular fire rings at each of the 5 sites. I wonder why they ever... Honest question. Why did they... Who started calling the shitter the head? I wonder, for real. I gotta go make a trip to the head. You know what I mean? It's an odd one. To me. I grabbed the site with the longest parking area so I could stay connected to my rig, which was about over 50 feet long. There was only one other couple at the site in a large tent and an SUV. Naturally, they picked the site closest to the head. That'll be the bathroom. In case you didn't know. Our site was the closest site to the stream at the apex in the loop. The water was so fast moving with rapids and a lot of deadfall, the stream measured about 50 meters wide at our site, and the water was naturally very cold. The sound was amazing as the water came down from the cloud-covered pines high above. Our fire pit consisted of 3 cut pine trees, one on each side of the 36-inch steel ring, with the open end facing the water about 25 feet away. The view was spectacular, and the fact that it was free made it all the better. If you had a location like this for your home, it would cost you $1 million for the land, just for the land. And after arriving and getting this site set up, we went looking for firewood. Unlike California, the Washington State Forestry had signs everywhere that said, "Please collect all the wood you wish. Please don't break branches off live trees." This is never an issue as the amount of deadfall was off the charts. Within 20 minutes, we had a pile the size of a VW Beetle. Plenty to last through the evening. My son grabbed the axe and hatchet to make smaller, more manageable pieces out of the larger branches. And after a standard camping dinner of mac and cheese, burgers, and dogs, we headed down to the fire ring. The RV sat about 25 feet in elevation above the fire ring, with a winding path of low scrub that zigzagged down the hill to the ring. And as we got the fire started, I was teaching the teens the proper way of building a fire from scratch. I used my knife and flint to get it rolling, and the new kids were amazed at this magic trick. I guess being a Boy Scout is frowned upon these days. Yeah, just being a human is frowned upon these days. The fire quickly rose to about 5 feet. We all picked a log and sat back to enjoy the fire. This forestry site is very remote, with the closest man-made light about 20 miles away and the last small town we passed through on our way up the mountain. I had issued each of the kids a flashlight so they could find their way around at night. I told them they will be very surprised at how dark it can get in the woods at night. The old cliche that you can't see your hand in front of your face is the real deal up here, as they would soon learn. After about 30 minutes into our fire, I heard the first loud knock of what would be several more. Excuse me. At first, I thought it might have just been a falling tree in the woods, but it lacked then slow cracking and swoosh sound a tree makes as it hits the ground. A few minutes later, I heard a second, then a third. At this point, my wife asked if I'd heard the knocks. While the teens messed around with their flashlights, making scary faces and just being boys, I made my way over to the other side of the fire and sat next to my wife. I leaned over and whispered, "Sasquatch." She immediately hit my shoulder and said, "Shut up." I smiled and shook my head. I told her that that's one of the ways they communicate. She thought I was pulling her leg. She instinctively reached over to lift up my jacket to see if I had my handgun. Of course I did, but told her I would not shoot at the creature with a Glock 40 cal, as it would just piss it off. Good for you being armed, man. I love it. Love it. Armed to keep those children safe, and your wife. Beautiful. We both looked in the direction of the knocks as the moon, in and out of fast-moving clouds, lit up the stream and the timber beyond. When the moon came out, it was surprisingly bright, even to the naked eye. You could pick out individual trees on the other side. Even with our fire and our night vision compromised, my wife looked at me with this concerned look on her face and said, "Don't say anything to the boys, they'll be up all night." We heard several more knocks, all of them coming from the other side of the stream. One sounded fairly close to the stream, I'd guess about 100 meters away, with the other one much further back in the woods, possibly 300 plus meters away. It got to be around 2300, so we decided to make our way up the trail to the RV. My wife cooked up a batch of popcorn, the boys played a few games of Sorry. The wife and I headed off to bed. You know what? I'm surprised the kids, because the kids should be, the children's intuition, sixth sense should be on point more than an adult's, you would think. Unless video games destroy that. I don't know. I'm just speculating. It's a possibility, right? It wouldn't surprise me. The next day we got up early and prepared for a hike in the woods. I briefed the boys on what they should have in their backpacks and to stay close. No wandering off alone. I had a handheld GPS that I use for these types of hikes. I grew up in upstate New York and spent much of my young life in the Adirondack Mountains. So I have better than average experience in the woods, not counting my 23 years in the military. And I also have pro-grade radios that can clearly reach up to 10 miles line of sight. I told the boys that there are a lot of dangerous animals in the woods, so sticking together was key. As with all kids not accustomed to being in the woods, they immediately scanned the woods expecting to see a bear or a mountain lion just sitting there staring at them. I always carry a firearm, and today was no exception. I had my daily carry 40 cal with multiple mags and a 12-gauge pump shotgun slung over my shoulder. Beautiful. We decided to cross the stream and make our way southwest through the woods and slightly uphill from the campsite. As we began to climb in elevation, the woods began to get fairly thick, but not as bad as I've seen. This area had obviously been clear-cut a few years ago, so it was fairly easy walking, and visibility through the woods was overall surprisingly good. About an hour in, we found a large stone outcropping and decided to sit down for a snack. The boys were looking across the vast wilderness. They scanned the area and each pointed out a few features in the distance, with the greenhorn boys truly in awe. Sadly, they had no idea there was a world like this out there. They all commented that it resembled some Tom Clancy video game where they were SEALs and had to find and destroy a Russian terrorist training camp. Too bad they didn't make video games on how to seek and destroy the corrupt politicians camp. Sorry, not sorry. I just laughed, and at the thought of that being their only exposure to the woods. And about 10 minutes into our break, as everyone was just eating their snack. The woods became suddenly very, very silent. Even the boys thought something was up as they all turned back to look at me. One of them pulled up his long-sleeved shirt and showed the others his visible goosebumps and hair standing up the length of his arm. I had the same feeling. Something was not right. The only sound we heard was the wind high up in the tops of the pines. A few seconds later, I heard what sounded like a large branch snap just up the hill from our location. I estimate it was about 75 to 100 yards. My son heard it too, and he stood up, and we both looked up the hill. And I heard another snap. And at first I thought it could be an elk. Then we heard a low grunt, very guttural, almost vibrating, and from very deep within, like a really bad chest cold, the kind that no amount of coughing can free up. I told the boys it was time to get moving and heading back so we could make lunch. They grabbed their packs and we slowly started our way down the path off the rock ledge. My son kept turning around and looking back up the hill. He looked at me and I put my finger to my lips to keep quiet. The last thing I wanted was two city kids freaking out and running down the very dangerous path with cliffs and drop-offs. I believe they all sensed, and no one was talking. My son took the lead with a sense of urgency and led the way down the trail. I walked backwards, watching and listening, checking our six. That's pretty intense. Walking backwards. A few more branches snapped, then another deep grunt. This time it was closer. I stared at the area where it had come from, but saw nothing. The ground leveled out. Shortly after, we could hear the faint sound of rushing water. We popped out at the stream about 50 yards north of where we had originally crossed. We had used several large trees that had fallen into the stream to cross earlier that morning. We made our way to the crossing point. The boys took off on a run when my wife said that lunch was ready. I stood along the stream watching the woods where he had just come from. A short distance into the trees, maybe 30 meters in, I saw something move. And as I stared at the spot, there was nothing. If anything was there, it was frozen. There was too much brush to make out any shape or silhouette, and within a few seconds, I caught the first scent of something, very sour, similar to the smell of my friend's wet hunting dog, and add to that the smell similar to roadkill or a lakeside dead fish. It was a mixture of smells, none of them pleasant. There's a very slight breeze coming down the slope towards the stream carrying the scent, and after about 30 seconds it subsided. My wife yelled and waved me over. I made my way to the logs and crossed the stream to the campsite. And later that afternoon, we collected more firewood for the evening and prepared dinner. Sunset would be around 1700, and with us being on the east side of the mountain, it came even quicker as the shadow quickly came over the site and the temperatures began to drop. And after an early dinner, the boys played around with the flint trying to make their own campfires. And as everyone settled onto their log, the boy asked me to tell them the story about how in 1973 I'd seen a UFO in the dead of winter in upstate New York. Sensing my reluctance, my son pressed me along with my wife, saying, "Come on, Dad." And as I began to tell the story, we heard a very loud woot. So it was W, numerous O's, and a T at the end of that spelling. Even over the rush of the water, it was clear as day and extremely loud. So loud I can't imagine a human being capable of making such a sound. I stopped talking and everyone looked towards the stream. One of the boys asked, "What was that?" About 10 seconds later, we heard a second one. Woot! This time it seemed closer. I looked across the stream and noticed a pointed head, or what looked like a head and very wide shoulders, very dark against the tree branches behind it, which were lit in the very clear moonlight. There was a horizontal branch on a large spruce across the stream from us that I estimate was about 8 feet off the ground, and I could clearly see the head and shoulders over the branch. It stood there motionless. I slowly stood up, not taking my eyes off of it, and pointed towards the branch. My wife stood next to me, looking in the direction of my arm. I didn't see it. Where? I whispered the location of the branch, transfixed, almost afraid to even blink, fearing I'd never see the image again. And finally, my wife saw it too. She squeezed my hand very tightly and was clearly scared. No doubt. She pulled the boys over to her and told them where to look. She sat on the edge of the log pointing. And as my wife pointed towards it, they each looked down her arm as if sighting in a new optic, and one of the boys clearly saw it and asked, "What is that? It's really big." I told them to stay very quiet, and I told them it's a Bigfoot, thinking they might not know the term Sasquatch, but they would surely understand Bigfoot. Almost in unison, they all looked at me like I had two heads and said, "No way." And it was then we heard another very loud knock on a tree. For the first time, this knock came from our side of the stream. Not northeast of us. From northeast of us, possibly along the logging road. The hair on everyone's neck stood straight up. It's a sensation that I will never forget. Nobody ever does. Realizing it was closer, and clearly not the same one we were watching, my wife gathered up the boys and headed up the trail to the RV. Each of them ran on the trail using their flashlights and scanning in every direction. When I turned back around and located the spot, it was gone. I scanned the area to make sure I was looking at the same location. I easily picked out the branch, but the head and shoulders were gone. There was a very intense feeling of being watched, and I had goosebumps all over my body. My wife gently called down to me, asking if it was still there. I told her it was gone. She then said, "I can still feel it." Yeah, me too. The next morning was much colder. Light snow began to fall. I'm guessing you guys got some sleep. We were a few hours from packing up and heading back to civilization. And while the boys ate breakfast, I asked my wife to come down to the fire ring and confirm with me the location of where the creature was standing. I wanted to get a measurement. And in my mind, I looked across the stream and found the spot. Not wanting to lead my wife into agreeing with me on the location, I asked her to point it out. I stood next to her. She pointed. "You see that rock next to the stream, the one that has the large tree resting on it? Straight up from there is that branch that he was looking over." She had confirmed the spot that I'd picked out, and I asked her to stay put while I went to that location. Across the stream and paralleled the water, looking back at my wife about 75 yards away, she just kept pointing upstream and yelled, "Keep going." When I got to the location, she yelled, "Stop right there." I scanned the few trees around me and walked towards the water, and as I made my way to the location, I looked up and saw the branch. My wife stood there with her arms folded, trying to stay warm, her head nodding up and down. I'm a little over 6 feet tall and could reach up and touch the branch. If I jumped up, I could easily grab it and swing on it like a chin-up bar. And I estimated the branch about 88 to 96 inches off the ground. The creature's head and shoulders were clearly well above the branch that night, so he had to be at least 100 to 110 inches tall or well over 8 feet. During the nearly 3-hour drive home, the boys talked about everything they'd done and said how much fun they'd had and repeatedly thanked us for taking them along. I asked them if the event from the night before changed any thoughts they had about the existence of Bigfoot, and they all said, "Oh, it's real for sure. Yeah, we saw it." Having been young once, I knew this adventure would stick with them for a lifetime. I asked them if they missed their Xbox, and they said, "No way. This is way better than any game." Yeah, no doubt. Good for you, man. Steve, thanks for hosting this forum. It's refreshing to see a place where folks can open up on their encounters with these very intelligent creatures. Too many sites today have their obligatory goon squads and trolls to call people names, embarrass them, or make them wish they just stayed silent. Keep up the great work, Tom. I will, man. You keep taking those boys out too, Tom, all right? Super proud of you, man. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you in this family. Glad to have you here. I get The handfuls of times I've had somebody else's kids with me in the woods, I don't get anxious, but it's just, I don't know how to describe it. It's like when we brought I don't know if you remember, was it last year? We took Chippy way out to what's called the Klanawa River, where there's a lot of shit goes on around there. A lot. It's for Vancouver Island. It's pretty remote. And we called in that bull elk. And yeah, I was armed to the nuts. It's somebody's absolute precious treasure. And I'm taking that little munchkin into the middle of frickin' nowhere in the woods. Just the thought of something grabbing anybody's kid and taking off with it. Oh my God, does that ever give me the creeps? Doesn't it you? You know what I mean? I mean, taking kids into the woods, taking them camping, whatever, it's like such a massive responsibility. And when you know what potentially can happen out there, not that you want to dwell on that and make it change your absolute existence, but I mean, you can't ignore it. You can't pretend it doesn't happen. If you do, you're dumbass, right? Anybody who gains knowledge and ignores it, ignores the knowledge, is an absolute dumbass. Anyway, yeah. It's like when I'm guiding strangers, man, no big deal. They know what's up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel overly protective or like I've got precious cargo while I've been guiding an adult who's armed in the middle of nowhere. They signed up. They want adventure. They got it. They're a grown adult. Let's go. But children, well, it just makes me feel different. I feel different when I have Sarah in the woods with me. I don't let her go. She normally, don't look, don't go. I gotta go away to go to the bathroom. Like, I don't care. Too bad. You go into the bathroom right there and I'll put my back to you. That's the way it is. That's the rules. You are never out of my sight and you're always near me. Just because you know what's going on, right? Anyway, yeah, it just creeps me out the thought of losing somebody's kid out in the woods. Whoa. Oh man, that would suck. Oh, what's this one? This is another book. All right, I won't mark this at all. And we'll read that another day. That's a big one. How about this one? This one's right up there too, but I think I'd probably squeeze this in. The vault not marked as red. Arizona Rim Country. Steve, I'm writing this not for my benefit, but rather for a select few others that I know are following your excellent channel. All right, good for you. I hope you read this to help others to maybe understand this puzzle a bit better. You, and of course all those that have submitted their experiences, have helped many others, as well as myself, to understand this unknown race better. I was really not interested in sharing my experiences until I viewed a couple of postings that talked about being frozen. This area, I unfortunately have some experience. I've been viewing your channel for almost 2 years now. Let me say personally to you, bravo Zulu. Keep up this good work. I know it is helping many, including myself. I hope this letter helps some of your viewers, especially those that have had or are having experiences with waking up at night frozen, completely frozen, except for the ability to move their eyes. It appears this ability to freeze us humans in our tracks, in our beds, or plant thoughts in our head is not just limited to one being or entity. I think our code is known by many. Being able to realize the intent of one's experience is key. Let's start this by going back over 40 years. I was in my mid-teens in the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. One evening I woke up in bed frozen. I had no idea what the heck was going on. Realizing since I had full thought control, I knew that I was not dreaming. The first time I remember only slightly having fear, more puzzlement than anything else. I felt as though someone or something was doing this to me. There's possibly more than one being or entity in my bedroom. It kind of felt like I was being used as a training aid or something. I was confused, to say the least. I tried to move and get up, but I was pinned to that bed. Some point after trying to move, I tried to rest. just to take a second, get back some needed energy. Just to take a second, get back some needed energy. That was when I passed out. And as these night events kept randomly reoccurring, it only took another event or two for me to realize this was originating from something evil. I was able to tell where the source of this control over me was coming from. Each time I tried to rest, I passed out. Now stay with me here. This does tie into the Bigfoot Sasquatch topic. As these events progressed, so did my understanding that the source was evil. Each occurrence, I would try to get up. I would try to raise my arms or to roll to my side. Nothing worked. All efforts failed. Eventually passing out after each time paused for a quick rest. And as I struggled to fight this, I could feel my energy just leaving me. I did figure out that the madder I got, the longer I was able to try to fight this, or should I say stay conscious. I could tell exactly where the entity that was doing this... I could tell exactly where the entity was that was doing this to me. It was usually right next to my bed or near my waist. What? A few times it was at the foot of the bed. How did I know where it was? Like when you're out in the forest and you know you're being watched. I just knew. Then whatever was doing this to me took this to an entirely different level. I realized this entity was no longer at the side of my bed, but rather it was over my, let's say, mid-region, on me or standing through me and my bed. I'm not sure. That's when I realized for the first time, or at least this time, that this entity was female and it was pure evil. I felt it wanted me dead. Let's just say the term berserker would be the closest definition to fit what was going on inside me then. Fighting until I had nothing left, then passing out. This next twist occurred a few more times, probably the third time or fourth time this occurred. I knew there was nothing I could do to break this. I guessed I reached a point of accepting that there was not a damn thing I could do to fight this. Realizing this, I figured I can't fight this thing. At least I could try to see what the hell it was. And stay with me here. In my head, I asked God to at least let me see what this was. I figured that was not asking too much. With all my ability, I tried to raise my head. I was not so much angry like before, but rather just extremely focused this time. All I was focused on was to raise my head and look at this, not stopping to rest because I knew if I did, I would pass out. I kept trying to raise my head. Then, at a point close to giving up, I realized that my head was actually elevated somewhat. This must have given me a second wind, I guess. I believe I raised up a bit more, ever slowly. Then all of a sudden, I felt my attacker bolt out of my room with great speed. I knew the direction it left. I know it did not leave willingly, at least under its terms. With this now gone, I was still awake. I tried to sit up. To my surprise, I still could not move. It took a long time for me to be able to sit up, and once sitting on the edge of my bed, I reviewed all these events. No idea how long it took to sit up or how long I sat there. What I realized was that when either my lower neck or my shoulders lost contact with the bed is when this thing lost its control on me and bolted out of my room. I also realized this was just like those sharks that when you flip them over, they are paralyzed. So since that night, I've never slept on my back at night. Wow. I'm 59 now and I still will not sleep at night on my back. What the hell? Now for the tie-in to the main topic, Bigfoot. Let's go back one more year now. Sorry this is so long. I was up camping with a friend that probably has more experience with these beings than 99% of anyone I've watched or read a book from. With that being said, one night, early morning, I woke up in my bed. I was sleeping in my enclosed trailer. This was up in the rim in Arizona. I woke up frozen. My first thought was, how could this be happening? Honestly, I was confused. I was not on my back. I don't sleep on my back, were my thoughts. Then I realized I was on my back. What the F? Panic set in, but I was able to roll back on my side, actually with little effort. That is a little effort as compared to the experience 40 plus years ago. Anyway, I was in my sleeping bag and was cocooned in because it was a fairly cold night. And even though my eyes were open, I could not see anything. But I did feel a presence near me, beside the bed and about chest area. As soon as I was on my shoulder, I drifted back to sleep. Notice, I did not say passed out. There was no fear. The same event kept happening again and then again, and all in a row the same night. Must have occurred about 6 or 7 times. Each time I got a little madder, but when I got on my side, I just went back to sleep. The last time I moved back on my side, I was fuming mad. Then I heard in my head a very soft, caring, and loving tone say, "Stop doing that." Okay, understand I'm pissed off and my charitable demeanor was long gone. In my head, I shouted rather nastily, "I don't sleep on my back." How did I know I could speak to it that way? I have no idea. Back on my side, feeling I told them a thing or two, I drifted off to sleep. And the next morning, I told Kevin what happened. I was thinking I was having a bad dream, a bad reoccurring dream. He started laughing and said that I got a healing. Not really believing that I asked, why would they heal me? Then he asked, how was my stomach muscles? I was just dumbfounded. See, I strained my stomach muscles a few weeks ago and the pain/soreness just would not go away. With setting up the camp sit that day, I aggravated them more. Kevin noticed I was moving slow and asked what was wrong, and I told him that I pulled or strained some muscles. I actually spoke this out loud. It appears they were listening or somehow knew this. Anyway, he asked if I was still sore. S-O-B, I had absolutely no pain or soreness. Now I felt like a complete heel and ungrateful person. This is a topic I don't recall you covering before, but they have the ability to heal. To what level, I don't know. The gist of this letter is that we humans can be controlled and or manipulated by other more advanced beings. That voice that I very clearly heard in my head was spoken like one would expect to hear from a loving and caring grandmother talking to her grandchild. Yes, it was a female voice. Sorry this is so long, but I truly wish I knew this back in my younger days, about sleeping on my side. Hopefully this will help a viewer or two of yours. There's a great debate on whether these beings are good or are they evil. Most folks believe one or the other. It's taken me a bit to come to my decision. Your postings have helped me think through a number of things, and again, thank you. They can be either. Everybody's a product of their environment and experiences. There are good people, and there are truly bad people. I don't see why it would be any different with them. I know you're all extremely busy and get offers. I know you are busy, extremely busy. And get offers all the time. I highly doubt you'll ever take up some stranger's offer. I doubt I would, but if you're ever visiting Arizona and want to join us, just say the word. We just sit out, and most of the time we are visited. Even though I have only experienced one daytime sighting, I have experienced some mind-blowing events which would have to be in another letter if you want. And one last thing, if I may. You took one hunter on a guided hunt on horseback long ago. A previous client, as I remember. This guy wanted down from the mountain right then and there because a rather large rock landed near the horse he was riding on. Ring a bell? It might be possible that the tosser of said rock might not have liked the person on that horse. I'm just saying. Just as we like or dislike people, why would they be any different? I'm sure there's some humans they like. There are some... There are some that will tolerate and there are others they just don't like. I do not believe they have a politically correct mode. So if they don't like you and you are entering into their area, they will make it known you are not welcome. You should leave. Take care and keep this going, Rob. Okay, well that's an older one from probably one of the originals from the Arizona Forest. This is sent in 2021. Wasn't marked as read. And as you know, I have taken up the offer and I'm all over it. I will be there, possibly this spring. We'll see how it goes. I hope so. just to sit around and chuck shit at each other and see new country. For me, I don't need something to happen. But if it does, I'm down with you guys. I trust you guys. And there you go, you guys. All right. More voices heard. More voices heard. What am I gonna do now? I think I gotta do a lot. I gotta go shovel shit. Probably go get some hay. It finally stopped raining, maybe long enough to go get a trailer load of hay and sling that into the barn and just carry on. I think tomorrow, side note, I think tomorrow Sarah's got me on for doing the 12 days of Christmas with cheesy sweaters on. Cheesy Christmas sweater day starts tomorrow. Whatever, I'm down. Mrs. Sarah Claus. Holy cow, have you guys seen how Christmassy it was in my house right now? It's kind of funny, but she loves it. The family loves it. Now, yeah, if you want to feed a couple kids just this 1 month, or not, or just find some kids in your neighborhood and feed the little suckers. Trust me, it's good soul food. Very good soul food. It's a very, very good thing to do. Yeah, but if you want to do it here, you can join the subscription channel using a laptop, I guess, or a regular computer. Won't do it on the phone that I'm aware of. What else? Sarah's book is still out there. Link below. She's got 5 out of, she's all proud. Yesterday she said, I've got 5 out of 5-star reviews on it. I'm like, all right, good for you. That's exciting. What else? Links to her store. She's got a sale going on in her store. Link is in the video description below. I think that's about it. That's about it. Spread some kindness no matter what, all right? Get that higher vibration going. All right? Don't let the dark side win. Stay positive, stay happy, do something good to make you feel good, all right? Focus on some good today. Who knows, maybe tomorrow I'll rant like a dick. But not today. I'm not ranting today. I think yesterday's food deliveries really got my vibration going a lot higher. I think. I for sure did. Anyways, I'm rambling. I'm out of here. Back tomorrow. Share my story at howtohunt.com. Get it to me. Us. All right? Later. He's straight in there right where I'm at right now, going across that cliff over there. Right. Okay, he's over here now. Instead of taking trails, you just side-hilled all through this shit. It was on top of this cliff. Came down that, straight down, and then walked over. Now he's over there. About ready to disappear over the side.